Hi, I'm Kesenya, and today we're going to be looking at one of the most impactful, most powerful transits a person can go through in their life. And I'm talking about the transit of Uranus through the first house. So let's begin. Basically, Uranus, this amazing planet, let's talk a little about him in the first place. Uranus is a planet that straddles two spheres. He is one of the celestial planets, the planets that you can't see with the naked eye. You need a telescope to see them. That's Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. They form the three celestial planets, and they rule the subconscious realms, the divine realms, the realms we can't see tangibly with the naked eye. So, the subconscious realms, the karmic, they're very, very karmic planets. They're connected to karma. They're connected to the divine, the angelic, the heavenly realms. So these are the things that these planets rule. Now, planets from the sun, the moon, the two luminaries, all the way through to Saturn, the ones we can see with the naked eye, rule the physical world, the realms that we can touch, taste, see, hear, and smell. So the planets that it's as above, so below. The planets that we can see with the naked eye rule our physical world reality and the things that happen to us in physical world reality. Boss gives you a raise, you get a new car, you buy a new house, you have a child. Things that happen on a tangible level. They're not about subconscious or karmic or anything like that. So Uranus is unique for many, many reasons astronomically, and I'll talk about those in a second, but in astrology he is unique because he is connected to both realms. So he actually is part of the celestial realms, but there are times, usually once a year, when he becomes visible to the naked eye. And this is it's sort of a once a year occurrence that happens. And so when Uranus becomes, because Uranus becomes visible to the naked eye on occasion, he actually does rule things that manifest in our physical world reality as well. Namely, light bulb moments that give us goosebumps. Because Uranus rules electrical systems, and our body's electrical system, funnily enough, is our nervous system. And what happens when we get a light bulb moment or a tingly moment in our lives? Well, our skin gets, goosebumps, and we react like, oh yeah, there's a resonance within us. And we see that through our nervous system reacting with goosebumps. But Uranus also rules things like earthquakes and volcanic eruptions and big upheavals on a global natural world level. So that is what Uranus is responsible for. So he's kind of got one leg in one camp and another leg in the other. So he is a tremendously powerful planet, ruling our subconscious realms in certain areas, as well as physical, tangible realms as well. Quite an amazing planet. And he is the only planet to spin on his side, where you've got Saturn, who sort of sits like this. Let's compare them. Saturn sits like this, round and round and round and round and round. In fact, every planet, round and round and round and round. But compare that to Uranus, it's spinning on its side, like that. So it's very different, very distinctive, and very unique. And it is the most impactful planet in my experience. I mean, all the planets have a part to play. Saturn transits, or you really feel them. Jupiter is like, woo, wonderful. But Uranus transits, they just pack a punch. They really pack a punch. And this is partly due to the fact that Uranus is this powerhouse, this planet that crosses two dimensions, but partly also because it's such a slow moving outer planet. The further out you go, the stronger the planetary influence becomes. In fact, Pluto, the furthest planet out, He's almighty powerful. My God, if you've had a Pluto square, you know about it, you know, and not every generation has that. I'll talk about that transit at some point later on down the track, but not in this video. But the Uranus transit to the first house is so impactful because Uranus is a slow moving planet, therefore the energy takes a long time to build and really when it hits. So Uranus takes 84 years to do one single tour around the horoscope. 84 years, that's a lifetime for many, many people. You know, our life expectancy is roughly 80 years. So if we live that long, we will experience Uranus in every single sign of the horoscope at some point or another. And I use whole sign astrology in my astrological practice. So in whole sign astrology, for those who aren't aware, in this case, we've got Taurus as the rising sign here. That's the first house, the whole sign of Taurus, the first house. Gemini is the second house. Cancer is the third house, and so on around the chart. So Uranus, with his 84-year cycle, will spend one period of time in each of those signs if you live to 84. But one period alone. That period is a 7-year long period that he will spend in each sign, roughly. It changes a little from sign to sign, but roughly 7 years in every sign. And that being the case, we have a 7-year window of opportunity to work with the energy of Uranus to revolutionize certain compartments or facets of our life. So Uranus might be in the 5th house. We have an opportunity to bring some genius-like, because Uranus is genius, and eccentricity and left of centeredness, to bring that to our creative life, to bring it to how we, to our childhood, to our children rather, to bring it to our romantic experiences, our love experiences. So Uranus is going to spend 7 years, if he's in your 5th house, working on those sorts of issues. But the most impactful one is when he's in the 1st house. Now, Uranus rules, or rather, what Uranus wants to achieve is to liberate us from anything that's blocking us, anything that's holding us back, anything in life that is keeping us stuck and bogged down. So he wants liberation. He wants us to become more authentically aligned with who we want to be, who we aspired to be before we incarnated into this life, what we wanted to achieve as a soul in this lifetime. He's going to take us there by helping us become more authentic to ourselves and to our purpose. So he wants liberation. He wants authenticity. He wants truth. He won't tolerate lies. He won't tolerate mask wearing. He won't tolerate pretense. He is all about authenticity. What you see is what you get. No beating around the bush, no dilly-dallying. He's just into it. This is who we're going to be. And so liberation, authenticity, and becoming true to yourself, discovering your truth. And so this is what he is wanting to achieve in each, sorry about that noise, in each 7-year period in each of the signs. So what does it mean if you have Uranus transiting your 1st house? Well, he's finishing up, as at the time of filming this video, we're actually at the end of 2018 when I'm filming this video for anyone down the track watching. But at this point in time, Uranus is preparing to leave Aries for the final time. So anyone alive at this point in time will not experience this influence of Uranus in Aries for another 84 years. And for me, I'm not going to live to see him back in Aries, obviously. So it's been a very, very unique 7-year period for most of us who are never going to see Uranus in Aries influencing that area of our life, that area of our chart, ever again. And so he's going to, on the 2nd of March 2019, he's moving into the sign of Taurus. So if you are Taurus rising at the moment, you are going to experience for the next 7 years Uranus transiting your first house. Anyone who's Aries rising is just finishing that. Anyone who is Pisces rising, like myself, experienced Uranus's transit to the first house ending 7 years ago and beginning 7 years before that, and so on and so on. Whatever your rising sign is, when Uranus transits there, this is when liberation, authenticity and truth can really impact your life and revolutionize. That's what Uranus also rules, revolution, and sort of sticking it to the man kind of stuff. That's what Uranus will bring you, and we're going to talk about those things in just a minute. Now, it doesn't, unlike midlife transits, and I'm hoping to prepare a webinar on midlife transits, but unlike midlife transits in general, the midlife transits occur at certain periods of our life. Saturn return always happens at sort of 27, 28, 29 years of age. Second Saturn return happens 30 years after that, roughly. And so we can predict a lot of the transits that are occurring for people based on their age. But this is not the case with Uranus transiting the first house, because it all depends on your rising sign. Like, I am Pisces Pisces rising, born in, giving these things away here, 1974. But there were people born in 1974 who had Cancer rising and Leo rising and Scorpio rising. So it is not distinctive to the year that you were born in. It's got nothing to do with age. So, for example, my children, I have 2 children who are Taurus rising. They're going to be going through this transit now for the next 7 years. One of them happens to be 13, the other child happens to be 10, and they're both going through it. Plus, I have a very close friend who's 53, and he's going through this for the first time in his life. Never experienced it before, waiting all his life probably for this to happen and liberate him, and he's 53 years old. It's never happened before, and it won't ever happen again. This is his once in a lifetime experience with Uranus in the first house. So age has nothing to do with it. So let's have a look. What does this mean? What is it going to bring you if you happen to be Taurus rising for the next 7 years, or if you have experienced the transit of Uranus to your first house over the over the last few years or in years to come? Well, it's going to bring sudden changes that will shake you out of your comfort zone. Like, you will never be the same again. The first house is the house of the body. It's the house of your journey through life, you know, how you physically journey through life. And often we see what we can get an idea of what people will look like by what's going on in their first house. But your actual physical journey through life is also seen by the first house. And so your physical journey may very well change 180 degrees from what you've known. So maybe you've spent a good portion of your life working in some corporate job. You've got to CEO level, and you know, it's been all you've aspired to do, and then Uranus transits your first house, and I've had it with this. Enough already. I'm out of here. I am going to go and have a self-sufficient farm down in Tasmania and screw the corporate lifestyle. So, you know, we're talking big life change. Sudden divorce often happens when Uranus transits the first house. That's what happened to me. I got divorced. I also had my children in that period. So I had my children first, and then I got divorced not long after they'd been born. It is a 7-year period, and if you bang, bang, bang with your children like I was, that's a big change. Or even just one child is a big change. So sudden divorce can happen, or an unexpected child, you know, that can also occur. Falling in love unexpectedly is often seen with this transit as well. Like I said, having a brand new career direction, so saying screw you to the corporate lifestyle and going, you know, self-sufficient farmer extraordinaire, or, you know, just changing things up completely in some other way, career-wise. But no matter what, Uranus will bring excitement and fresh energy into our life. Where we've been feeling stale, where we've been feeling stuck, where we've been feeling blocked in life, Uranus will suddenly set us free. He will help us to feel more alive. He will help us to feel more authentic through these things. So maybe getting divorced is going to be what helps you feel more alive and more authentic. Maybe getting a new career is going to help you get more in touch with being more alive and being more authentic and real yourself. It is a time of rebirth. Now, even with no external changes occurring in your life, even if it is rare to have no external changes, no changes of career, no children born, no divorce, no falling in love. It is rare to not have some kind of physical outer world change. But if that is the case and there is no outer world change for whatever reason, you will have a monstrous shift internally. Your perspective on the world can go from one polaric point to another polaric point. And this happened for me as well when I had Uranus transit my first house, and I grew up in a hugely conservative community with very traditional values, very parochial kind of, and not my family specifically, but the community in general, very patriarchal, and religious as well. And when I went through my Uranus transit, that is when Uranus transit first house, that's when I discovered astrology, and my whole world turned around 180 degrees. And I said, see you later, to the conservative, to the parochial, to the patriarchal and religious approach to life. And I embraced newfound spirituality, exploration of hidden things like astrology and other types of practices as well, that are much more connected to the earth, to nature, to cycles, to shamanism, these beautiful natural things that so much of the modern world has moved away from. But this is not the platform to preach about that. But suffice to say, this was the change that occurred to me, and that was a 180 degree turnaround. Very, very impactful transit. Now, one of the most noticeable things about Uranus transit the first house is the change that will occur to your image and how you look to the world. Now, this is actually a fascinating component of this transit. When I experienced this transit, I was probably not too different looking to how I look at the moment, a bit younger, but I had long dark hair. I've always worn my eyeliner like this even before it was trendy to do so. So my makeup was similar, but long dark hair, dressed similarly probably. But when Uranus transited my first house, I dyed my hair platinum blonde and cut it in a 1950s hairstyle, and it was always done with rollers and to look like Marilyn Monroe, and I would dress like Marilyn Monroe in floral 50s dresses and little cardigans and wear high heels all the time, keeping in mind I just had 3 children, so go me. What was I thinking? But this was the change to my image, was profoundly different, and I'm going to show you a photograph now of the before and after Uranus transit. So that was me, and I had a precious client contact me as well and share with me her photo of the before and after Uranus transit too, and it is fascinating. So you needn't, jump into some sort of rockabilly or goth or, subcultural image change. It can just happen through just cutting your hair differently. Check out this photo. So big thanks to her for sharing with me that photo. And seriously, if you've been through a Uranus transit first house and can notice an image change, send me the photo. I love that sort of thing. So your image will change, even if it's just dyeing your hair, even if it's cutting it all off or whatever. There will be a big change to your image, and very frequently you can go back to looking the way you did before once the transit is over. But it won't be like, you know, pulling your fingernails out to change your image. You'll want to do it. It'll be, you know, you'll instigate the change. You'll want it. So, you know, don't feel bad about that. It's just you will feel more adventurous, you'll feel more eccentric, you'll feel more like being more quirky in how you look, which is cool. We love different, you know, we love to express all our creativity. This is part of being human, and more people should do it, really. We live in a world where people just try and conform so much, and Uranus is the anti-conformist. It wants us to be unique, it wants us to be individual, it wants us to embrace the beautiful selves that we've been wired to be. Each chart is unique, you know. We're here to express that chart, whatever it happens to look like to the world. So that's what Uranus wants us to embrace and utilize. Now, there's also will be a sense of breaking free in general as well with this transit, a rebelliousness, an independence. So I've used the illustration of what happened to me with regard to, you know, the worldview that I had and how drastically that changed. Well, that was really quite rebellious of me to say, well, screw you, I think something differently entirely now. And so it was probably quite hurtful for the people I'd grown up with and who had surrounded me to see that I was kind of sticking it to the man and saying, you know, I'm going my own way, thank you, and I'm choosing my own thoughts and I'm standing on my own 2 feet. So there was really a rebelliousness about that, you know, and in fact I was very much like, well, I don't really care what anyone thinks anymore. In fact, you can think whatever you like about me, as long as I know within me that I am justified, that I have done the right thing. That's all that matters, and I don't care what you think. So in that sense, it was liberating, it was empowering, and absolutely set me free completely from the concern about what other people think. I really don't give a damn what anyone thinks anymore about me or anything. Mind you, note to Facebook and YouTube trollers, it still does hurt to have those comments out there, even though I just internally think, oh, screw you. So there's this rebelliousness, there's this, you know, sticking it to the man, screw you, whatever, kind of attitude that can come about as well. Like I said, or alluded to a moment ago, there might be some ostracization that occurs as well. This happened to me where I felt like, well, I'm no longer accepted by the community that I've always been a part of. I don't belong there anymore. I don't fit there. People don't get me and I don't get them. There's a sense of ostracization. It's not that I didn't love them. It's not that I didn't care about those people any longer, but I just didn't fit. So you can feel ostracized with this transit. Other people can have a sense of confusion about you, maybe a sense of mistrust also about you because of, you know, your newfound free attitude, your newfound liberated attitude, your newfound sense of empowerment that comes with being free, being authentic, being true to yourself and not really caring what other people think of you. So that can be very confronting to people who do care a lot about what others think, who are very, you know, very traditional and conservative, and it can be really confronting to a lot of different people when you go through this big, empowering, liberating life change, especially if they don't understand what's going on. You know, if they don't understand astrology and they don't get that this is just a really cool cycle that you're going through. There will be sudden starts and sudden endings in life. Now, obviously, I've used my life as an illustration there. Definitely what can happen. Suddenly, I went from being a married woman with no children to being a mother, then another sudden change to being a single mother of 3. And so big life change, a divorced woman, like the life change was huge and profound. So lots of sudden starts and sudden endings that will occur, and it needn't be divorce. Like, that's just my story. Your story might be completely different, and it all depends on the other things that are playing out in your chart But there will be sudden starts, there will be sudden endings that unfold in your life. And above all, it's going to be liberating. It's going to make you more authentic and set you up for the next, for wherever Uranus is going to transit to next, second house, third house, so on and so on. It sets you up for dealing with things in the future in a more authentic, more truthful, more liberated way than you have before, where you're going to stand in your own truth, you're going to stand in your own strength, and you're going to be, you know, honor yourself and your uniqueness, your unique chart, the distinctive person that you are. It is one of the most empowering transits. I look back at mine, though it was filled with upheaval, I look back at mine with a great deal of love and gratitude to the universe for helping me through that period and enabling me to up level to become the woman that I am today. And the same can happen to you. So especially if you're Taurus rising, get ready for a really impactful 7 years where your whole life can change, and usually for the better. As I've said, I went through this change. I wouldn't necessarily want to live through it again, but that's because I was having a Pluto square at the same time. But I wouldn't change a thing. You know, it has been the best transit of my life from a, you know, reflective point of view. And now I look at Uranus and I just love Uranus. Honestly, one of my favorite of all the planets. Uranus is so empowering, liberating, and freeing. You will, at the end of this transit, the best word to describe it is that you will feel free. So thanks for joining me for this little bit of info about one of the most impactful transits in astrology, and I'll have a few more of these little tidbits to share on my channel in days to come. So thanks for joining me at Guiding Star. If you've enjoyed this information, don't forget to subscribe to my channel and share it with your friends, because we're all you know, sharing this free, lovely information for people to learn and grow and be empowered. And thank you once again. I'll see you next time.